Hey guys, it's Robin May, founder of the I Believe in Marriage Network, and I am super excited to share with you again this week. Now, I'm going to jump right in because I want to share with you 3 tips to help you and your spouse start the year off right. But before we dive into that, I have a question. Did you get a chance to check out last week's Facebook Live? Listen, I knew that I wanted to do last week's Facebook Live probably over the last 3 months. I knew I wanted to do it live, but those 3 months had me on pins and needles because on last week's Facebook Live, my husband, Lee May, and I actually did our strategic plan live on Facebook Live. And let me tell you, one of the reasons why I was kind of on pins and needles is because the strategic plan is a very personal experience. But I know that a lot of people are not used to the concept of a strategic plan. And so we wanted to model it for you, but we modeled it live. We did not practice. We didn't decide what we were going to say and what we weren't going to say. We just did it. And so it had me a little bit anxious, but we got through it. So if you did not get a chance to check that out, make sure you finish this Facebook Live and then scroll down on our Facebook page, I Believe in Marriage, and check it out, okay? All right, so again, I want to dive right in and share with you 3 tips to help you and your spouse start the year off right. And guess what? You don't even have to take notes. I have a freebie just for you. This is it right here. All you have to do is click the link and give me your email and you will get it in your inbox. Okay, so you don't even have to take notes. I'm just going to go over these with you and then you can grab hold of it. If you are listening to this via our podcast, you can get your hands on it too. Just go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. All right. Okay, so let's dive in, all right? So at the top of let me ask y'all something. What has been going on lately with this idea of not doing resolutions? Like, all of a sudden, it was like resolution was a bad word. People are now replacing it with saying, I do my New Year intentions, or I just set my New Year goals. And honestly, I think it's really a play on words. I mean, I get some people feel like resolutions box them in, or that resolutions are judgmental. I've even heard that. It's like it's causing you to judge yourself. I don't know. I think whether you call it a resolution, an intention, a goal, I believe at the turn of a new year, it is critically important that we stop, pay attention to what we did, and look at what we want to do. And I think it's critically important that you and your spouse do that as well. Now, we often do that as individuals, or some people do. We'll stop and think about, okay, what went right last year? What didn't go so good? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to stop doing altogether? We do that personally, but do you and your spouse do that? Second question, do you and your spouse do things intentionally and practically? Intentionally and practically to make sure that you are on one accord for the new year. I mean, imagine if you are in your corner thinking about all the things you want to do this year and you're saying, you know what? I want to change the way I'm eating and I want to save this amount of money. And the children, they need to do this year. But your spouse is thinking totally opposite. Maybe they have some of those same goals, but maybe those goals are not played out in the same way. Let's say maybe you have plans for the children to go to this camp and your spouse has plans for them to go to another camp. If you guys never talk, how do you get on one accord? All right. So I want to share with you 3 easy tips, y'all. These are super easy. 3 easy tips to help you and your spouse get on one accord. Listen, we're only in the second week of the year. And even if you happen to check this Facebook Live out toward the end of January, toward the beginning of February, it's still plenty of time for you and your spouse to try these strategies. So again, right here on the Facebook Live link, you will see the link for you to click to get this handy dandy freebie. Just go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. All right. So let's talk about the first one. Okay. So I'm giving you 3 tips to help you and your spouse start the year off right. So this is the first thing I want you to do, all right? I want you to pull out your calendar. And I want your spouse to pull out his or her calendar. And I want the two of you to predetermine your date nights for the first 3 months of the year. All right? I want y'all to pull out your calendars, look at what's going on, and I want the two of you to predetermine your date nights for the next 3 months, for the first 3 months of the year. So listen, in my own business, one of the things that I have found is that it's critically important to plan out your year, but then to break it down into 90-day increments. One of my good girlfriends has a great strategy for that, and we walk through it. So plan out your year, but then break it down into 90-day increments. And I want you and your spouse to do the same thing. I'm not telling you to plan your date nights for the rest of 2018. I want y'all to plan out your date nights for the first 3 months of the year. And listen, that might sound like, Robin, wait a minute, that's too much. No, not really. Listen, it could be one date a month. Now, that doesn't mean that you only date once a month, but we're going to predetermine at least one date a month. All right. So you pull out your calendar, your spouse pulls out their calendar, and you predetermine what are 3 dates in the first 3 months of the year that you guys are going to stick to. No matter what, you guys are going to stick to this time. Imagine how good that will feel to know you've already prioritized one another. How good would it feel to know that at the beginning of the year, the two of you already prioritized one another? One of the things I teach consistently is that many marriages, many couples that come and see me in my office, many of them are suffering from what I call unintentional neglect. You don't mean to neglect your spouse. You don't mean to neglect your romance. You don't mean to neglect time with one another. That's why I call it unintentional neglect. Literally, guys, I can see several different couples that I work with. As I'm saying that, I can literally see their faces, and I can just tell you that if they had prioritized one another, their marriage could have taken a different turn than what it did. So you get a chance right now, even if you're saying, Robin, that's us. That's us. We are suffering from unintentional neglect. Listen, before you do what I know we always do, we often stop and think about our spouse. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's neglecting me. No, I want you to think about you. I want you to focus on you. In what ways do we kind of neglect our spouse? So this first tip is super easy. You are just going to pull out your calendar and predetermine 3 date nights. Now, remember, I told you, you don't even have to take notes. It's right here. Just go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year, and you can get this in your email. On this handout, I give you 3 tips because a lot of times when we think about date night, the first thing that people start to say is, Robin, we don't have no money for date night. Or they tell me we don't have time for date night. Or they tell me, Robin, we don't have a babysitter. Y'all, those are excuses. When I pledged my beautiful sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, one of the things that we learned was that excuses are tools for the incompetent. They produce monuments of nothingness. Excuses do not excuse, and explanations do not explain. Why did I have to go through all of that? I had to finish it. So I don't want you to make excuses. So I gave you 3 tips under this one tip to make it easy. So number 1, date night doesn't have to be expensive. You and your spouse can go in that refrigerator, pull out some grapes, pull out some sandwich meat, because if you got kids, you got some sandwich meat in there. You can pull out some sandwich meat and you can make a sandwich, get some grapes and pull some cookies, put them in a Ziploc bag, put all of those in the bag and go on up there to the local park and have a picnic. It does not have to be expensive. Here's the next strategy. Date nights don't always have to be outside of your home. One of the things my husband and I love to do is create date night right in our home. We make those kids go to bed. We make them go to bed and we have date night right in our home. You can create a candlelight dinner. My husband and I absolutely love playing dominoes. Y'all, we picked up, what is it? Yahtzee. We picked up Yahtzee again. We used to play that early in our marriage. We can play cards or we can listen to music. We can dance right in our living room. Date night doesn't have to be expensive and it doesn't always have to be outside of your home. You can create date night right in your house. And here's the last strategy under this one tip. Date night didn't always have to be at night. What if those 3 dates that you schedule, what if one of those is just a lunch date? What if both of you commit to your lunch hour? Maybe you run over to your spouse's office. Maybe they run over to yours. Maybe y'all meet at, where could y'all meet? Let's see. What if y'all met at Red Lobster? Beyonce talked to us about Red Lobster, didn't she? Or maybe y'all can meet at Chili's. You guys can meet right somewhere in your own home. I mean, right in the neighborhood near one of your jobs. And so I want you guys to consider that strategy, okay? So remember, I'm giving you 3 tips to help you and your spouse start the year off right. And why is it important for us to pre-schedule these date nights? Because in 2018, you are not going to allow your marriage to suffer from what I call unintentional neglect. You are not going to do it. Remember, 2018 for the I Believe in Marriage Network is the no roommate zone year. This is the no roommate zone year. We are not going to allow our marriages to suffer from the roommate zone. And y'all know what the roommate zone is, right? It's when you and your spouse are living in the same house, but you're living 2 different lives. You're 2 ships passing in the night. You guys might as well be roommates that are helping one another out. And in 2018, the I Believe in Marriage Network, the couples who are connected to I Believe in Marriage, will not be in the roommate zone. So that's the first tip to starting the year off right. You are going to prioritize one another. So let me give you the second tip. You know what I'm going to tell you though. For those of you who are just logging on, remember, you don't even have to take notes. I've done it all for you. I want this to be super simple. Just go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. If you're looking at this on the Facebook Live, the link is right there. If you're listening to this via the podcast, again, IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. And this printout, this one pager will be right there for you. All right. Here is tip number 2. Y'all, I think this might be my favorite one. It's a little corny, but hey, that's me. Number 2 is identify your song of the year. Your song for this year. What is your song? I want you and your spouse to identify what is that song that puts the 2 of you in your feelings. What is that song that makes the 2 of you feel good, that reminds you of why you said I do in the first place? It could be an oldie. It could be the song that y'all walked down the aisle to. It could be the song that was the hot song when the 2 of you met. It could be a new song. Maybe it's a new song that's out by a new artist and you're like, that's our jam. Now, here's the key. I want both of you to agree on the song. I don't want, ladies, this is what I do. I don't want you saying, baby, this is our song. My husband and I recently launched a church here in DeKalb County. And the other Sunday he was up preaching and he said, he was referencing a song and he said, and my baby said that that's our song. No, sir, I don't want you to say I said it. I want you to say that it's our song. So I want you to make sure that it is a song that you both love. All right. Now, with this strategy, there are 3 suggestions that I have for you as well. Number 1, maybe the 2 of you can have that song set as your ringtone. How cool would it be whenever you call him or whenever you call her, that song is what plays? Here's another strategy. This is super fun. What if for the rest of this year, that is the ringtone. I mean, the alarm. I'm sorry. What if that's the alarm that wakes y'all up? Now, y'all have those fancy phones and, you know, Apple this. And although I'm an Android girl, I'm an Android girl. I couldn't even get it out. So what if you guys have something like an alarm that plays the song to wake you guys up in the morning? Here's the last strategy. What about every so often, when you call your spouse, instead of saying hello, what if you just play that song for them? Let the song be your introduction. All right. So I want you to think of your own ways that you can use this song in a romantic way. All right. So number 1, we talked about you're going to pre-select your date nights for the year. Number 2, I want you and your spouse to identify a song that's going to be your song. Again, why is this important? Because it keeps you and your spouse top of mind for one another. Listen, life pulls us apart, and we have to be intentional about bringing ourselves back together again. I told one of my clients just the other day, this is daunting. This is hard to accept, but it's the truth. Everything in your marriage, everything you do in your marriage, either draws you closer together or pulls you further away. Everything you do in your marriage either draws you closer together or pulls you further away. And here is the reality. We're human. So as much as you may not intend to, as much as you may not want to, you are going to do something that causes your spouse to kind of pull back a little bit. Your spouse is going to do something that causes you just to pull back a little bit. We're human. That's the dynamic of this miracle called marriage. That's why these type of things that I'm teaching you right now are critically important, because if life is going to happen, if life is going to pull us apart, we have to be intentional about doing things that draw us closer together. Another way to look at it is either you are making deposits or you are withdrawing. And because you are human, I can promise you, you are going to do something that withdraws from the love bank of your marriage. So you have to do things to intentionally invest. And so identifying your song for the year is one of those ways that you're intentionally investing in your marriage. You're reminding your spouse, listen, I wasn't speaking to you yesterday. I wasn't too into you last night. You annoyed me beyond what I could even explain just yesterday. But I promise you, I'm still here. I still love you. And this is my little subtle way of letting you know we're still here. Was that just me and my husband? That's just what we do. And so you want to make sure that you are intentionally investing in your marriage. Listen, you don't want to look up and say, what happened? You know, I tell people often that the people who show up in my office, it's not always the big things. It's the little foxes that destroy the vine. I feel like I say that all the time, but it's absolutely the truth. It's the little foxes that destroy the vine. And so it's little bitty things that begin to eat at the marriage. And you look up and you're like, wait, what happened? How did we lose that connection? How did we lose that love? How did we disconnect so much? It's the little bitty things. And listen, it's the little things that happen to all marriages. I want you to get that couple in your mind. Let's take a minute. For those of you just now getting on, let me tell you what we're doing. I'm sharing with you 3 tips to help you and your spouse start the year off right. I've already shared with you the first 2 tips. The first one is to predetermine your date nights for the year. The second one is to identify your song of the year. Remember, you don't even have to take notes. You're just going to go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year, grab this handout, post it somewhere in your house, put it in your car, put it somewhere so you can remember. And I'm just trying to share with you why this is critically important. And so because we're human, we do things that withdraw from the marriage. And so when you are intentional, when you are intentionally investing, it keeps you connected. And like I said, people often show up in my office and it's not the big things, it's the little bitty things that begin to eat at the foundation. And you don't want to look up and wonder what happened. Okay. And so it is not necessarily that you wanted to disconnect from your spouse, but because life is happening and you weren't intentionally investing, that's what begins to happen. Okay. Now, here's the reality. A lot of times we don't know how to intentionally invest, but that's why you're going to stay connected to the I Believe in Marriage Network, because 2018 is the no roommate zone. Listen, if you're watching this right now, share it with your network. There's somebody who is married who needs to hear this. There is somebody that you're connected to that you don't even know is on the brink of walking away. And maybe if they try these 3 quick tips, these 3 quick strategies, it'll make a difference. So go ahead, share this on your page. Okay. All right. We only have one more tip. I told you I'm making this super easy. So number 1, you're going to predetermine your date nights for this year. Number 2, you're going to identify your song for the year. And here's number 3. You're going to determine your word for the year. All right. So every year, just about, I get this word, and you know, I'm a church girl, and it is a word that I know God has directly given me for the year. This year, my word, should I share my word? I think I already have. My word for 2018 is elevate. That is my word for 2018, but that is my word. Well, I think it's important for me to have a word of the year that's going to keep me focused, it's going to keep me directed, that's going to pull me back when I'm going too far, that's going to push me when I'm shrinking back. I think it's important for me to have a word then maybe it's important for my marriage to have a word. Maybe it's important for there to be a word or a theme that helps my spouse and I remember why we are staying connected, to help us remember what our focus is for the year. So I want you and your spouse to determine your word for the year. Now, this is so important that you don't tell your spouse what the word is. Ladies, you hear me? Fellas, are you listening? You don't just say, hey, baby, this is what our word is. No, the two of you want to sit down and think about what are your goals for this year? What is it that you want to accomplish? What is a win for you and your spouse? What is a win? When we fast forward to December 2018 and we are sitting with maybe you have a glass of wine, I might have a glass of wine, or I might have a cup of coffee, and we're thinking about 2018. What do we want to say was a win? What do we want to say went really, really good? So then identify that word so that can take you back to January and we can stay focused the entire year. All right. So under each tip, I'm giving you some strategies that I hope will help you. So when you're thinking about your word, I want the two of you to find a creative way to display your word in your home. Now, in our home, I wish I could show you, but if you can hear, it's a lot of chaos going on upstairs, so I can't show you. So in our home, though, we have a wall in our bathroom that leads into the main part of the bathroom. And that's kind of what we've determined to be a command center for us. And so on that wall, we can display our word. It's kind of where we have our calendar. That's where we have scriptural reminders. That's where we have important things that we need to remember. So we can find a creative way to display that word. Now, here's the reality. Now, this is very stereotypical. I'm warning you, this is stereotypical. So forgive me if this is not the case in your home. But more than likely, when my husband and I determine our word for the year, more than likely, I'm going to be the one coming up with the creative display because I tend to do more of that. So it doesn't have to be both of you coming up with the way you're going to display it creatively. You just want to put it somewhere. And listen, if it was up to my husband, it wouldn't be a creative way. He'd get a marker and write the word on a piece of paper and then put a push pin in the wall and say, there you go. There you go, baby. If that's okay with y'all, that's okay. Just find a way to display it. Here's another strategy under that tip. I want to challenge each of you to do something at least once a month that shows that you are remembering the word. So remember, my personal word for the year is elevate 2018. So each month I'm making sure I'm doing something that is causing me to elevate in my health, elevate in my walk with the Lord, elevate as a mom, elevate as a wife. Every month I want to do something intentional to make sure that I'm not just throwing a word out there, that I didn't just hear this and then I didn't put any meat to it. So I want you and your spouse to challenge one another to do at least one thing once a month that keeps that word top of mind and challenges the two of you to stay true to that word. Okay? All right, here's the last strategy under this last tip. I want the two of you to buy yourself something, maybe a keychain, maybe a picture frame. I am such a journal girl. Y'all, the other day, it was somebody's birthday, my daughters, they were going to a birthday party. And my oldest said, Mommy, I'm begging you, don't buy a journal. They are so over my journal. Like, do you want something from me? I'll buy you a journal. That's just what I do. And my children told me they are over it. So I said a journal. Now, I wouldn't go buy my husband a journal. I might buy him a keychain that says that word or represents the theme of that word. So y'all can make this really fun. Y'all could go to the mall, give yourselves a limit, maybe a $15 limit, maybe $20, and say, okay, we're both going to go and separate. We're going to find something for one another that represents that word, and we're going to meet back up. All right. So again, why are we doing any of this? Let me recap. Why are we identifying our dates for the beginning of the year? Why are we identifying our song of the year? Why are we determining our word for the year? The reason why we are doing this is 2018 is the no roommate zone for the I Believe in Marriage Network. And we are going to do intentional things to invest in our romance. We are not going to allow the little foxes to eat away at the foundation of our romance. We are not going to put our marriage on the back burner. We are not going to prioritize work and church and our sororities and our fraternities and our civic organizations, even our children. We're not going to allow everything else to prioritize themselves in front of our marriage. If we are saying that we are committed to one another, we are going to fully commit, and we're going to do our part to invest in our forever. All right, guys. So again, you didn't even have to take notes on any of this. All you have to do is go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. IBelieveInMarriage.com/New Year. Put your email in, and in your inbox, you will get this easy breezy handout, and you can print this out. You can talk about it to your spouse. Now, before we go, I want to talk to those of you who know that sometimes your spouse didn't get excited about all of this, and you're thinking, Robin, this is great. I'm going to come up with the date nights. I'm going to identify the song. I'm going to determine the word. And I'm not even sure my spouse is going to buy into it. This is what I would suggest. You want to make sure that you're presenting it in a way that is that is appealing to your spouse. So don't come to your spouse and say, hey, what we're going to do is this. Just say, hey, baby, I want to make sure that I am meeting your needs this year. I want to make sure that I'm making you feel loved. I want to make sure you know I got your back. Now, one of the things I found was this. Why don't you look over it and tell me what you think, and just leave it somewhere and go on. Don't pressure them. Don't make them feel bad. Don't bully them into doing it. Do it just like that, and then pray about it and watch God begin to turn your spouse's heart. Listen, the Bible says the king's heart is in his hand and he turns it however he wishes. You can begin to pray for your spouse's heart, and God will begin to turn your spouse's heart towards you, and you will see a world of difference just through that strategy alone. Guys, if this Facebook Live helped you, if you're listening to this via the podcast, if this helped you, will you share it with somebody? Just hit share. Let somebody know that they need to check this out. I am committed to you this year, and give me some comments. Leave some comments, and I'm going to stay in, checking in, and I'm going to respond to them as quickly as I can, guys. All right? Talk to you guys next week. Bye.